Good day! Today we are going to talk about chess. Chess is a board game for two players. It's called white and black, and it plays on a chessboard. So the brief history of chess is believed to have originated from the two-player Indian war game. It is called chaturang, which translates as the four divisions of military, which dates back to 600 AD and 1000 AD. Chess is spread to Europe by Persian traders. Chess is one of the oldest and most popular board game. It is known as a royal game. It played by two opponents. So the two players is called white and black. The objectives of the game is to capture or checkmate the opponent king. Checkmate is when one player king is threatened and there is no legal move to meet the threat. Did you know the first international chess tournament was the London tourney played in 1851 and the Adolf Anderson won the game? The first great American-born chess player is Paul Morphy. And also Wilhelm Steinitz is the first official championship chess tournament was played in 1866 in London with the sun clocks, and he also won the game. Now, let's proceed to the materials used for chess game. Chess set. It includes the board plus all other pieces, which is the pawns, bishops, rooks, knights, the king, and the queen. It is aesthetically attractive and sleekly designed. The color and sizes of pieces are precisely chosen to match and contrast with the board squares.
So the second material is what we called the chess pieces. In 1849, the first ever original pieces created were referred to as Staunton chess pieces. So the chess pieces before is called or was called Staunton chess pieces, made out of plastic or wooden materials. So chess pieces can be made out of plastic or wooden, white or black. So chess pieces can be white or black, but sometimes we can find it as dark wood or red. But players still call them as white or black. King must be 85 to 105 millimeters tall or 3.35 to 4.13 inches. And the diameter of the king has to be approximately 50% of its actual height. And then all other pieces need to be proportional to the king. So this means that the pieces have to be well balanced for height, width, and its shape. And then the third material is what we call the chessboard. The squares are 1.25 inches, and then the size of a king's base is 1.3 inches or approximately 65 millimeters. So the size of a chessboard squares should be 1.25 inches, while the size of a king's base should be 1.3 inches. Squares with the size of 57 millimeter are usually ideal for pieces in this age range. The darker squares on the chessboard can vary from black to dark green or brown. The lighter colored squares can either be white or off-white in color. So the darker squares of a chessboard can either be black, dark green, or brown, while the lighter color squares can either be white or off-white. And then the example of a chessboard is shown below. Next is the fourth material, which is the chess table. For tournaments, the size of a table must have a minimum length twice that of an actual chessboard. and then the width should be 15 to 20 centimeters more than that of a chessboard. And then, for 5 tournaments, table must be 120 by 80 centimeters. So 5 tournaments, or FIDE, so this is a French acronym, which in English means the International Federation of Chess. So, in this tournament, table must be 120 by 80 centimeters. And then for both players, the height of a table and chair has to be countable. So this means that the height and table, or the height of the table and the chair is or depend on the countability of the players. Like for example, in the image shown below. And then the chairs and tables do not make any noise while players play. This means that the chairs and tables should not make any noise or distraction or interruption to the players while they are playing. Lastly, we have the chess clock. Time control adjustment gate clocks consisting of 2 buttons may be used. So this chess clock has 2 buttons, which the one button stops the clock and then the other one starts the timer to prevent the clock from its simultaneous running. And then digital or analog. So a chess clock can be digital or analog. So the first ever chess clock is what we called sandglasses. This is during 19th century. And then afterwards, we have the 2 connected analog clocks. And then in the recent times, we have now the digital clocks. So this permits more sophisticated time controls, like additional time whenever we move or whenever the move is made.
So good day everyone, I am Nurse Lindsay Batalya, and this time I will be discussing about the rules of the chess. Let's start with the king. So the king may move 1 square in any direction as long as no piece is blocking his path. So ang movement sa king is tinag-isa ra gyud na siya, pa front, pa side, pa back, and pa diagonal. And one more thing, kung black gani ang imuhang bato, is ang king kay naa siya sa white na box. Okay, the second one is the rook. So as you can see, ang movement sa rook is in a straight line yun na siya, or the number of squares horizontally and vertically. Now let's move to bishop. Bishop may move any number of squares diagonally. So now the bishop move diagonally, maora gyud na ang iyahang move. And bisag asa ra siya pwede maabot in diagonal movement, as long as walay nakaharang nga bato. Fourth one is the knight, the only piece that can jump over a piece, be it your own or the opponent. So ang move sa knight is pa L. So ipunin mo ang box kaupat, and dito nimo ibutang si knight kung mag-move na ka. Kung mukaon siya, bisan pagpila ka bato ang naadapita sa movement niya, kung dili matunong sa ikaupat na box, dili na makaon ni knight. So let's move to pawn. Its first move may move either 1 or 2 squares straight forward. So ang first movement nimo sa pawn is 2 squares straight forward. The rest kay one movement na lang na siya. And also the pawn straight forward ragyud na ang iyahang movement. Lastly is the queen. The queen may move any number of squares straight or diagonally in any direction. So, ang movement sa king, rook, bishop, is magamit ni queen except kang knight. As I discussed earlier, di ba ang king ang movement niya is one single square, horizontal, vertical, and diagonal. And next one is rook. So, ang rook, ang movement niya is pa-vertical and horizontal. But ang scope sa iyahang movement is lagyo lang siya. And the last one is bishop. So, as we can see earlier, bishop kay pa-diagonal ang iyahang movement. So, these three pieces of the chess can be used by the queen's movement. All the pieces of the chess can move back according to its movement, except the pawn. So, that would be all. Thank you. The next reporter is Cabalies, and she will be discussing about DYK. Thank you.
Our next topic is all about backgammon. Did you know that backgammon is a two-player game of contrary movement in which each player has 15 pieces known traditionally as men, short for tablemen, but increasingly known as checkers. In US, in recent decades, analogous to the other board game of checkers. The objective of the game is to move the 15 pieces around the board and be the first to bear off. For example, remove them from the board. The backgammon involves combination of strategy and luck. From rolling the dice, the game became highly popular worldwide in the late 20th century. Now, did you know that backgammon is over 5,000 years and from the regions of Mesopotamia and Persia? The earliest record of the backgammon itself dates to 17th century in England, being descended from the 16th century game of Irish.
So now let's proceed to the material used. So first one is the 15 checkers of his own color, which is the black or white. Each player also has their own pair of dice and dice cup. And the materials also doubling cube with the numbers 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64. It is also used for tracking the stakes of the ground. Next is the board consists of 24 long triangles called the points or pips. Now next is the triangles. The materials is also triangles alternate in color and are divided into 4 quadrants of 6 triangles each. So as you can see in the picture, there are 4 quadrants that are the player's home board and outer board, and the opponents of home board and outer board. And lastly, the home boards and outer boards are separated by a divider down the middle, referred to as the bar.
Okay, so since we are done discussing about the materials needed in playing backgammon, let us now proceed to its rules. So in playing backgammon, there are rules that we need to follow. To start the game, each players rule a single die, and the player with a higher number moves first using both numbers ruled. So if both players rule the same number, the dice are rolled again until they get the different numbers. So moving the dice rule determines how many points the player is supposed to move its checker. So the checker always moves toward following the horseshoe path towards the player's home board. A point that is not occupied by 2 or more opposing checkers is an open point. So when moving a checker, it may land only on an open point. So when we say open point, it is a position on a board that is not occupied by 2 or more opponents' checkers. So the 2 dice constitute 2 separate movements. The player may also choose to move the same checker twice as long as each move is on to an open point. So when a double is ruled,
the numbers on the dice are played twice, and a player must move both numbers rolled if possible. So it should be 4 numbers if a doubled is ruled. So next we have hitting. So an open point containing one opposing checker is a blot. When a checker is moved onto a blot is hit, and the opposing checker that has been hit is placed on the bar. When a player has one or more checkers on the bar, he must first re-enter them onto the opponent's home board. A checker enters by rolling 2 dice and moving it to corresponding point of one of the numbers on the opponent's home board. If the checkers on the bar cannot enter into an open point, the player loses his turn and the checkers remain on the bar. If a player is able to enter some but not all of his checkers off the bar, his turn is finished. And if the player's checkers have been moved off the bar, any unused number must be played.
Bearing off. When all of the player's checkers are in his home board, he can begin a process of removing them called bearing off. This is done by rolling a number corresponding to a point with a checker residing on it. If no checkers can bear off with the numbers row, the player must make illegal moves with the checkers from a higher point. If there are no checkers on higher number points, then the player bears off with a checker from the next highest point. So the next one is doubling. A doubling cube is used to increase the stakes at any point of the game. It could be double, takes, drops, and redouble.
Good day everyone. So, in the continuation of the rules of gammon and backgammon, in the end of the game, if a person is born off all 15 of his checkers and the opponent is born off at least 1 checker, that person wins the current stake. While the irregularities of this game is a dice must be rolled together and land flat on the surface of the right-hand section of the board. The player must re-roll both dice if a die lands outside the right-hand board, or lands in a checker, or does not land flat.
Number 2. A turn is completed when the player picks up his dice. If the play is incomplete or otherwise illegal, the opponent has the option of accepting the play as made or of requiring the player to make a legal play. Now, number 3. If a player rolls before his opponent has completed his turn by picking up his dice, the player's roll is voided, and this roll is generally waived anytime a play is forced or when there is no further contact between the opposing force. And that's all, thank you.